and good evening, our beloved viewers. You are watching on live RTD channel. Welcome to this English news edition. Coming up, the headlines. High-level meeting between the government of Djibouti and the boards of directors. And on the international scene, more rockets fire at the base housing American soldier. Those were the headlines. Thanks for joining us in our newsroom. Under the leadership of the President of the National Assembly, His Excellency Mohammed Ali Hamad, and in accordance with Articles 12 and 22 of the Rules of Procedures of the Parliamentary Institution, the Conference of President met today to the set of agenda for the activities of national representation and the date for the public meeting. At this conference, the government was represented by the Prime Minister, His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, the two Vice Presidents, the Chairman of the parliamentary groups, the Chairman of the standing committees, and General reporters for budget also took part in the meeting on the substance of deliberating 10 legal texts were transmitted by the conference to the component committees, namely bills number 165 2019 instituting gender party and representation in the decision-making power, bills number 2 on the protection, prevention, and the cares of women and children victims of violence, bills number 3 70 approving the financial accounts of ONIAD for 2017 years of financial years. The bill number 4 71 approving the financial accounts of National Social Security Fund for 2017 financial year. Bill number 5 72 approving the financial accounts of Djibouti Telecom for the 2017 financial year. Bill number 6 number 73 2020 ratifying in 1986 amendment proposal to the Constitution of the International Labour Organization. Bill number 7 number 74 2020 establishing the multisectorial regulatory authorities of Djibouti. Bills number 8 number 75 2020 establishing the sovereign funds of Djibouti. Bills number 9 76 2020 adopting the national vocational training policy. Bills number 10 mention for resolution number 1 the year of 2020 modifying articles 14 paragraph 5 of the internal regulation of the National Assembly. As for the date of fourth public meeting, President Mohammed Ali Hamad reiterated the importance for the committees to conclude the analysis of the provision transmitted to them by the conference before the deadlines of January 31, marking the end of this ordinary session. On Sunday, the People's Palace hosted a high-level meeting between members of Djibouti government and the Administrative Council of the World Bank groups under the leadership of the Minister of Economic and Finance. Several ministers concerned participate in this meeting. To discuss the development system and models to Djibouti and how the financial institution in improving its activities in small countries such as Djibouti. This meeting witnessed constructive and fruitful dialogue between the World Bank and government members, such as the Minister of Economic and Finance, the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, the Minister of Higher Education, the Minister of Labor, the Minister of Interior, the Minister of Housing, and Secretary of State in charge of decentralization. The discussion touched on the results of a first 5 years plan to see the end and the 35 for the country that ended in the year 2019, in addition to many others questions that were raised, such as the status and rules of Djibouti in the Horn of Africa and the impact of registered and unregistered refugees of the program on random housing and comprehensive development, decentralization, and combating unemployment amongst youth, as well as climate change. The Minister of Economic and Finance in charge of industry, Mr. Ilyas Musa Dawale, discussed in his speech the government, his effort, and the effort it has made in recent years to reduce poverty and create jobs opportunity for the employment. In his speech, the Minister of Economic and Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawale, said it is very important to strengthen the existing partnership between the Republic of Djibouti and the World Bank. The Minister also indicated that the time has come to move to a diversified economy, particularly an economy likely to create more wealth in order to effectively eradicate poverty, but also to create jobs. The Minister did not fail to point pointed out that since 2013, infrastructure has been important because it was the only way to generate wealth and, above all, to connect Djibouti to the rest of the world and especially to neighboring regions. For her part, the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Ms. Muna Atman Aden, also addressed in a brief speech the programs and activities carried out by her ministerial department to promote social coexistence. She said, "We are in a spirit of development, social inclusion, and redistribution of wealth, which must be done in the right forms by setting up social protection and ensuring them, such as food security, a minimum income for each of orphan child and person with disability, but also the elderly and guarantee and the elderly person, and to guarantee a care to a health insurance." The Minister of National Education and Higher Education spoke in a speech to them about the service provided to the refugees residing in Djibouti. The Republic of Djibouti organized in December 2017, he said, the first conference of the Minister of Governmental Authorities for Development, which resulted from the Djibouti Declaration on Education for Refugees, Children, and all member states of governmental authorities for development commit to providing education for refugees and children in the educational system with poor quality in issuing the recognize educational certificate. He added, the Minister of Higher Education said, which is it is to protect children and their well-being. Regarding the student, we provide all the needs of the poor students and the possibility of obtaining the two meal means for this project of a scholarship to the educational level. He said, we have developed a platform to evaluate the level of the student in order to guide them and the University of Djibouti in one of the rare African universities to register the department via the internet. And now, for her part, the Minister of Housing and Women talked about the effort of the two ministries to provide adequate housing for citizens, as well as care for street children. The issues of housing tops of the priorities of the government, as well as the head of the state, by providing adequate housing for the population. She said we can improve the living condition of Djiboutian families, and as indicated by the Minister of Finance and Economic, and some speakers, the countries record remarkable economic growth, but this growth has not been accompanied by the achieving social growth, which it will allow the creation of a comprehensive economic condition, which means expanding the national wealth over all the assumptions of the society. The Minister of Decentralization and Health made clear in a speech detailing the formulations of a comprehensive development project in the country that aims to end rural migration. The Republic of Djibouti, in close collaboration with the Minister of Health and the Minister of Decentralization, conduct a study on street children, and he said, we are now working together towards enabling these children to live in dignity, and in this framework, a legal framework has been put in place, and we are working on establishing capacity in this file and moving forward with offering more. One of the initiatives that will increase the performance on the Ministry of Women and the Ministry of Decentralization. And now, still on national news, a delegation of the Board of Directions World Bank groups led by the new World Bank resident representative in Djibouti, Mr. Boubacar, visit to Djibouti from 10 to 12 January 2020. The visit was jointly organized by the Minister of Housing, Ms. Amina Abdi Aden, and the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Ms. Muna Osman Aden. From 21 to 23 November 2019, the Republic of Djibouti was affected by the heavy rains. It fell in 3 days in a row, the amounts of rain usually record in more than 2 years. The rains caused considerable material damage throughout the country, particularly in the former districts of Djibouti, in the commune of Bulaus and Belbela. The purpose of this visit by the executive directors of the World Bank groups was twofold. First, it's enable them to become aware of the scales of the problem of precarious housing in Djibouti and its extreme vulnerability to climate risk. Thus, they visit the Jagabuldur Section 7, where they were able to see that this precarious part has been rendered almost inhabitant by the heavy rains. At the end of the afternoon, the visit ended with a meeting with the households and elders of the precarious district in the premises of the public primary schools of Belbela 6. They later present their grievance, their request, and express the wish to have basic infrastructure in their district in the presence of the members of the World Bank delegation. These households are concerned by the Zero Slum program. As a reminder, this program is based on a strategy that is a part of the government program to reduce slum, and which aims to promote a better living environment while reorganizing the urban area around the capital. Under the high patronage of the Minister of Muslims Affairs, Culture and Welfare, Mr. Mumin Hassan, the charitable association for the memorization of the Holy Quran closed this morning the second edition of the Quran contest, so with the participation of about 130 candidates who came from the following center. The Quranic contest of Holy Quran is the first of its kind in the world. Memorizations of the Holy Quran in Djibouti City and in the region of Arta and Al Sabih. The closing ceremony of this contest was held in the conference room of the People's Palace. The ceremony was attended by the president of the association, the imam of the imam Mr. of the locality, Sheikh Osleye, the chairman of Fatwa of High Islamic Council, Sheikh Abdullah, and the head of the Department of Religious Heritage of the High Islamic Council, Sheikh Mahmoud Ahmed, as well as the professors of Imam for the memorization of the Quran, Sheikh Abdullah, and several guests of ulama. So the candidates compete during their days of three levels of Quran, namely 10 juz, 20 juz, in addition to the 30 juz. At the end of the ceremony, the Minister of Muslims Affairs present the prize to the winners of this competition. In his intervention, the Minister of Muslims Affairs, Culture and Wealth, Goods, Property, Mr. Mumin Hassan Barre, congratulated the Holy Quran Charity Association for Djibouti to organize for organizing the Holy Quran memorization contest for the second consecutive year with the participation of about 130 candidates. He stressed that the government, under the leadership of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margele, strongly supports such initiative that will advance the Holy Quran and strengthen the presence of our country in regional and international competition in the field of memorization of the Holy Quran. The Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohammed, today received in his office a British expert consultant who conduct a diagnostic mission on the use of English in vocational training program. This is the second visit that the expert consultant is making to our country. Visit to access the use of English in training programs. The minister listened at the length to the explanation given by the expert consultant who presented the results of this observation and assignment. He therefore made some proposal on the new steps and reforms to be undertaken to improve and strengthen the level of English of learners in vocational training. For his part, the Minister of National Education, Mustafa Mohammed, indicated that thanks to this analysis and evaluation, the British experts was able to identify the strengths and weakness of the use of the English language in the vocational education. The Secretary General of the Sport, Ms. Khadija Ibrahim Idris, held this morning at the Stadium Guled a meeting to make contact with the different sport federation at the Guled Stadium. In addition to the Secretary General, the Director of Sport, Ms. Abshir, and the Director of Guled Stadium, Ms. Fatuma Dabali, and several president and representatives of different federations took part in this meeting. The latter were able to express themselves on their mission, but also on the difficulties encountered in the realization of this mission. Several points were raised during this meeting, including the issues of training required by the technical agents of the different federation security, which remains an important element for the promotion and survival of the federation financing and the final achieving service, which is lacking until now. On her intervention, the Secretary General of Sport, Ms. Khadija Ibrahim Idris, thanked the President for having responded to her invitation and reassured them of the arrangement and step she planned to take in terms of restriction, but she also had the complete availability that she had listened to their concern in the executions of the mission assigned to her. The Prefect of Djibouti, Mr. Osman Bile, shared yesterday morning a sensibilization meeting with the Council of the Neighborhood for arrondissement in the presence of the sub-prefect of this arrondissement, Mr. Awale Farah. This meeting is part of the sensitivity sensibilization of residents for the neighborhood aims at the preserving the environment in addition to fight against the dumping of wastewater and garbage of the roads. The Camp Pursuit Centers is well supplied with the medicines and equipment for the Djiboutian population and has stocks on the spot. Sufficient quantities of medicines are available to cover the need for medicine during the next 6 months, and especially for to face the current epidemic in our country. This observation was made during the visit of the RTD team this afternoon to the camp. The quantities of medicines are visible on the shelves in a good condition until they are used. The camp supplies all the hospital of the capital and health structures of 5 regions in good times. It is tools of the health policy responsible for making essential medicines accessible to all sections of the population. The camp has recently acquired essential medicine to treat equipment and also health equipment the epidemic to fight against the epidemic. The director of a camp reassured the Djiboutian population on the availability of medicines and said that the supply of medicines to health structure is in a good condition. Since January 10, 2020, a team of ophthalmologists led by Dr. Issa Bokore has been working as the MHC of Boko within the framework of the campaign Zero Cataract and in the Republic of Djibouti. Indeed, the Obok Chief town has been designed to serve the whole Obok region, means to transport and accommodation have been provided to ensure the movement of a patient from the most remote localities in the region who have flocked on Obok Medical Hospital Center. Thus, the patient present benefit from the specialized consultation, and about 100 patients who have already undergone contract and operation and surgical activities continuing normality. The population is delighted with his policy, which has enabled hundreds of people who were previously visible and handicapped to regain their sight. The prefect of Obok region, Abdul Malik Mohammed Banoita, and the president of the regional council, Mohammed Ismail, as well as the deputy Abdul Kamel, went to the site to observe the progress of the operation and to encourage the team. In our obituary page, we have learned of the death of the late Hussein Roble Ahmed today in Mulud, his home village where he was birthed. Today, the late Hussein Roble Ahmed was born in 1942 and left behind him a widow and 14 children and 50 grandchildren. The late Hussein Roble Ahmed was the father of Muhammad Hussein Roble, advisor to the primacy following the dead Prime Minister Abdul Qam. Following his death, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed sent a message of condolence to the family of the deceased. May God grant him in his eternal paradise. Inna Allah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Moving on to the international scene, the G5 seals meeting for the summit in France faced with the for the multiple jihadist attack in the Sahel. The French president reunited in France, the southwest of France, the president of 5 countries of Sahel region. For more details in this report.
Base housing U.S. soldiers north of Baghdad on Sunday, Iraqi military sources said, without specifying the origin of the fire. 4 Iraqi soldiers were wounded, according to the Iraqi army. Iraqi military sources said no U.S. soldiers were hit. Almost all the American troops have already left this base in the Balad region after an escalation between the United States and Iran on Iraqi soil. There are only about 15 American soldiers and 1 plane left in the region of Balad. Iraqi security officials had previously said that 90% of U.S. contractors deployed on the base and had been evacuated.
This is it for this edition. Thanks for watching and have a good night.